Hi everyone, and welcome to this AP Style 101 video. I am very excited that I get the opportunity to introduce this content to some of you, and for some of you, I'm just refreshing what AP Style is. I don't get to be with you this fall, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for me, but unfortunately, I will not be joining you until the spring because I will be studying abroad. But I get to say hello and introduce myself very quickly before I jump into what AP Style is. My name is Ellen. I am a junior at Scripps studying media studies and environmental science. Uh, and I'm very excited that we have this whole brand new team of voice staff. I really hope that you enjoy this semester. I know Anji and Alyssa are going to lead you through an amazing few distribution cycles, and you all are going to absolutely crush it. But that being said, I do not want to take up too much of your time. I know how busy the semester gets, so I'm just going to jump right into this and get us started. Journalistic Writing AP Style 101. This is going to be your cheat sheet throughout the entire time you're writing for us. A few of our editors-in-chiefs who have graduated put it together, and we've been updating it ever since. But we're just going to go through this really quickly, run through them, and then I'm going to show you a few of these things in practice through one of the articles that we published last year. So, first things first, how do you write a news piece? Journalistic writing is a little bit different than your regular essay writing. If you've never written a news piece before, basically, the way to think about it is an inverted triangle. So, unlike an essay where you're giving a claim and then evidence and I don't know, I'm not an English major, I don't write English papers regularly. I have written other essays, I promise you. But the basic idea with a news piece is that you get the most important information first. It doesn't have to be detailed. It's just, what do people care about? So, who's being affected? What is happening? When is it happening? Where is it happening? Why is it important? Basically, unlike an English essay, you don't contextualize first. You're basically just going with what people want to know. For example, here, one of our editors, Kendall, lovely, lovely editor who graduated last year. So unfortunately, she is not on our team anymore. Last year, she wrote about the Scripps olive harvest that happened in the fall. I know when this happens, everyone. It happened in the fall. And as you can see here, she's starting out with the most important information. We're going when it was, what is happening. The Scripps olive harvest has returned. One important detail, the most important thing about this article, November 5th, she's telling us when it happened and what happens during this olive harvest, right? The main thing about this article is that we know there was an olive harvest. We know when it was. Those are the two most important things. That's all we need to get down in the first part. Once she has those details down, she can start to get a little bit more specific about what's going on here. She gets back into the context. So she has the important part, and then she gets into the context. That's when she introduces other concepts, other quotes that might add to the context and really shape the article to be directed in a different direction, maybe. Because that's what you'll find sometimes, at least when I'm writing news pieces, sometimes people will say things that will take your article in a direction you're not exactly expecting when you first start, but they will definitely improve the piece if you start to be a little bit more specific there. Another thing that is important is to write this piece in a way that flows well. Think of quotes as evidence. If you're writing an essay, you need to have some kind of content that backs up what you're saying. And here, when you're writing about, I'm going to talk about news because that's what I focus on, but you would also use evidence. I mean, you could take quotes from TV shows, from reviews, whatever you need to if you're writing an arts or art and culture piece. But let's say you're writing a news piece. It's important to go talk to people from the event and get some of what they're thinking on it. Depending on the length of the quote, they get implemented into your article a little bit differently. So the important thing that a lot of people have a hard time with when implementing these quotes is maintaining a level of indifference. And I know it's really, really hard because as journalists, we get to be there while they're actually telling us what's going on, and you get to feel the presence of what they said. But the descriptive language that you want to include when providing who gave your quote is not technically allowed. I'm sorry. Basically, all you want to say is said. And we always use the past tense because these interviews are happening in the past. So make sure that when you are writing these, you use said and not says. If your quote is longer than one sentence, what you want to do is quote the first sentence, then put your attribution. Article paragraphs are shorter than what you're used to writing in an English essay. Usually article paragraphs are going to be 2 to 3 sentences. So if it fits the 2-sentence requirement, you're good there. That's one paragraph. Here's an example. Working for the Scripps Voice is fun. See, that's the first sentence. You quote it, you add your attribution, then you finish the quote. If you have more than one sentence after that first attribution, just include that all in the second half of the quote. In the second half, and just quote the entire thing. You don't need to break it up even more. Here, we can talk about this as well. It's important that we provide attribution to whoever you are quoting. When you're quoting someone for the first time, when you're introducing someone, basically, it doesn't have to be a quote. Whenever you're introducing someone in your article, what you want to do is provide their full name and then their year. But make sure that you're using this format because we get the asterisk. That's not an asterisk. We get the quote thing wrong a lot. It's really hard to miss. So it's facing the opposite way of what you would think. But pay attention to that. You do that and their graduation year. That's all you have to do when introducing them. And because we are a Scripps publication, if they are a Scripps student, you do not have to specify Scripps. But we are at the 5 Cs, so if you're quoting a student from one of the other 5 Cs, then you would introduce them as with their school. For example, Maddie is a student at Scripps, so you don't have to include their school. You can just say their full name and the year. But if we're talking about Sam, who's a Pitzer student, then you have to give their full name and put PZ within parentheses before their year. We have 4 other schools. So the other school abbreviations that you'll need to know are PO for Pomona, CMC for Claremont McKenna, HMC for Harvey Mudd, CGU for Claremont Graduate University, and those should be the main ones that you need. But if for some reason there's something that comes up, please let one of the editors know. We will figure that out with you. We want to make sure that you know, we know, and everyone is certain about what is going on there. But once you've introduced someone into your article, you don't have to give their full name for the rest. What you're going to do is whenever you quote them or whenever you reference them, you're only going to give the last name. Okay, so for example, here we have Professor Nancy Neiman. She's a student, she's not a student, so we don't need to include her year. But we've already introduced her within this article. So when we reference her later, we only need to use her last name. Okay, numbers and dates. 2 things that are kind of difficult to get a hand on, but once you figure it out, you're going to become really good at just getting these down. So numbers 1 through 9 are written out in word form. So 1 would be ONE, 2 is TWO, the list goes on. Once you get to 10 and above, then you write those numbers out in number form. So 10 plus would be written out as the numbers 10 and onward. A little bit confusing at first, but you'll get the hang of it. Dates are a little wacky too, because some months require that you use an abbreviated month and some months don't. The way I think about it is just how long that month is. So January, February, August, September, October, November, and December. You would abbreviate with the first 3 letters. then you would just include the numerical form of the number for that date. If a month is used with a year, but there's no specific date there, don't abbreviate the month. And don't place a comma between that month and the year. Basically, do not listen to anything I just said. This is why it gets confusing. The abbreviations are used for specific days, mostly for news writing when you're talking about a day, a news writing or an event that happened on a specific day. It has to include the day. That's when you use the abbreviations. But if it does not have a specific date, then you write out the entire month. You do not use the abbreviations. If a date contains a month, day, and a year, you use a comma between the date and the year. And because it includes a specific day, you would still abbreviate the month. So February 23rd, include the comma after that, 2018. Those are the basic, simple concepts here. But there are a lot more specifics that you will 100% run into when you're writing. It just depends on what you're writing. So we have this very handy dandy Scripps Voice style guide, which goes into a lot more detail on our style. What you'll come to understand is that our AP style writing is a little bit different than the AP style writing you'll see TSL writing, or if you're planning to go into the journalism field, a little bit different than what big news outlets will use. But any question that you have about the way we write should be available here. So, and we have this wonderful table of contents, which will walk you through everything. So for example, like one of the things that we do that is not a part of regular AP style writing is the Oxford comma. I know it's irregular. We love the Oxford comma though, so we're going to keep it in. And yeah, there are a few other things that I didn't talk about earlier. For example, AM and PM, if you're talking about specific times, but at the same time, you'll see a lot of the same things that we've talked about. So writing out numbers versus writing them out in word form versus in numerical form. I know that we've gone through this document a little bit prior to right now, which is my time to go through and show you a few of the AP style edits in here, but I thought that it would be nice to do just one full round of just going through this. By the way, some of you might have noticed, if you did not notice, I had to reformat this, but this is the formatting we'd like you to have. Make sure that you have your byline, which is your name and your grade, your class year, and then your position. So if you're a staff writer, you would put staff writer. If you're a design editor, write design editor, social media manager, write social media manager. This just makes sure that we give you the proper credit. We will track you down if you don't have this, but it just makes everyone's lives easier if you do this. So make sure that when you're writing your article, you include your title and then your byline. We love it when we see those. Now I can jump right into a few of the things we've talked about just to show you how they're used in articles. So for example, we have on November 5th, date. November is one of the longer months, so you're going to abbreviate that, and then you're going to use the numerical number of the date. We have after 2 years, 2 is less than 10. Sorry, I've highlighted more than I wanted. 2 is less than 10, so you're going to write that out in word form. But since we have, for example, 85-year-old trees, 85 is more than 10. So we're going to write that out. As you can see, Kendall has a lot of numbers, or a fair amount of numbers in this. So it's just important to keep track of those. When she has a quote that is longer than one sentence, she breaks it up. So they quickly found out some interesting things. First sentence, end it there, give your attribution, and then finish the sentence in the next quote. Here we have a Scripps student. So 22, once again, make sure that this is facing the right way. It's so easy to get it wrong. Yeah, those are just a few of the basic things. Thank you for sticking in there. I know this is a long video, but I appreciate you hanging in and reviewing or learning a little bit about how we write at The Voice. I wish you all the best of luck. I can't wait to read your articles. You may see a few edits from me every once in a while, and I look forward to being able to see all of your wonderful faces in the spring. Don't hesitate to email the editor email, where Anji, I, and Alyssa will be there to answer any of your questions. We will get on it ASAP. Of course, once again, thank you so much for joining The Voice, and have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.